Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood. So there's no those vital
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means.
We are not alone. Water over stone, even if you're by yourself.
And today's music, created fresh this morning, is called Ministerial. Thank you, Rick. Do you ever hear music in your dreams? Today we will be speaking with Craig Webb about his book on how dreams inspired 100 famous artists, including Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Taylor Swift, U2, and Stevie Wonder. Do you get musical inspiration from your dreams? I've gotten feedback from more listeners about my promos for this show than any other so far. So if you have written dream-inspired songs or even just heard music in your dreams and what it meant to you, give us a call later in the show with your story. I'd like to remind you that the views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent those of Natural Bridges Media or of KSQD's staff, volunteers, or underwriters. Please check out the Dream Journal podcast. Look for it, review it, subscribe, and tell a friend. Now available on all of your major podcast platforms. New episodes will be released within a few days of every broadcast. So the dream that I'm working with is still the one that I talked about last week about painting a door. You know, some dreams can seem so mundane, and yet there may be so much there to unpack. And that's what I'm finding out about this dream. That I was painting a door, and I was finished, and I was really thrilled with how it came out. But then a kind of a authority figure walks by, a fatherly figure perhaps, and he just looks at it, goes, keeps going, and I just crumble. I like, oh no, it's covered with streaks. It's not good enough. I just fall into this well of, I'm going to drip paint on the floor. This self-criticism, the way that these thoughts flood into my mind. And that's the gift of this dream, is to notice that I do have these times when thoughts flood into my mind, criticism, self-doubt, and instead to remember that I can go back to that excitement of painting the door and just accomplishment. I mean, it was a wonderful color, kind of a peachy color. I have so much white at my house. I'm really looking for color. So it was like to go back to what I do and really celebrate that. So I will be inviting call-ins during the last segment of the show to be on the air. So get your questions ready and queue up your phone to 831-900-5773. That's 900 KSQD. I'd love to hear about one of your dreams, or you could ask a question. So jot that number down and give us a call. So welcome to Craig Webb. He's here on our new clean feed system. Are you there, Craig? Say hello.
How are you doing, Catherine?
Fantastic.
Nice to join you.
Great. Okay. I can hear you fine. So Craig Webb is an author, physicist, and dream-inspired musician. Craig was involved in pioneering lucid dream research at Stanford University and has designed lucid dream induction technology. His life path was set in motion 3 decades ago when he nearly drowned on a rafting trip and then suddenly began recalling up to 10 dreams per day and having powerful lucid and vision dreams. Craig Webb's book, The Dreams Behind the Music, reveals little-known dreams that inspired great success for over 100 famous artists and highlights principles and techniques anyone can use to harvest their own dreams for significant breakthroughs. So, Craig, glad you could join us today.
Yeah, great timing too, when people have a little more time at home, right?
Yeah, it's true. I know we do find that listeners have been tuning in more, and I think it's really a sign of the strong community we have here in Santa Cruz. We've been really successful in flattening the curve, and And it's taken all of us, the phrase I keep hearing is alone together, so that we are at home and yet we are together. And what could exemplify that more than the community radio here in Santa Cruz?
I have really fond memories. I used to live in Santa Cruz. So.
Oh, you did?
Hello to my old stomping grounds and all the beautiful people there.
Right, indeed. So I'm so glad that you could be here. I am also a physicist by training. I have a PhD in astrophysics. Perhaps you knew that, and I just found that it wasn't that satisfying as satisfying as dreaming is.
Yeah, well, if your, I guess, introduction to get into that realm, let's say the science was at all like mine, I don't think they are so far apart as we think, because anyway, you can see if it's true for you, was asking, how does life work? How does the universe work? What are the nuts and bolts? Can we, find meaning here? And some of the deep questions that I think bridge pretty easily between science and then what I now call inner subjective science, or let's say dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a natural bridge. And then the words even start with the same sound, or the same letter at least. Psychology and physics, they have the PSY in there.
Right, very different spelling, same sound. That's right. So you have said that you had this experience of nearly drowning that really changed your relationship to your dreams and visions. I wonder if you'd like to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it actually introduced me, not just changed, because I wasn't really interested in dreams or anything of that genre before my getting stuck under the raft. I was actually a good little physicist, minding my own business, doing my research, but very objective, And then after I nearly drowned under the raft, I guess surprise submersion without enough time to gasp for air, I had this moment of fight and flight, and I did have a helmet and kind of the life jacket and things, but I got stuck under the raft. So within, I guess, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I realized, wow, this big thought took over my whole awareness. I guess I'm dying. This is it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a kind of, it was a surprising peace. There's a tiny little bit of surprise because I wouldn't expect peace for when you're drowning. But it was kind of this big emptiness and this thought, wow, I'm dying. And it was kind of okay and felt good. And then I'm not quite sure what happened the next moment exactly. It's sort of like these movie scenes where you sort of cut to next scene.
Happens in dreams all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah. I sort of remember being back in the boat and rafting the rest of the day as normal. I think probably the guide pulled me out or something like that. At the next little rapids. And then I did notice, as you mentioned, that I started having recall of about 10 dreams or more a day, and then into following days, the dreams from the day before. And I hadn't really ever looked at my dreams or been too interested, but I wasn't against it. I was open-minded, so I just kind of started writing them down, and then having lucid dreams, and then premonitions and things that were way outside my training,
Right. So what about now? Do you still remember so many dreams, or what's happened for you? What's happening for you now in your dream world?
Yes, it's pretty easy. I guess I like to make the analogy of the inner net. It's kind of like the internet.
Oh, the internet.
The internet we can connect with, and our dreams are a good way to do that. One of the high-speed connections. So that internet connection for me, and I'm allowed to make that joke because my family name is Webb.
Perfect.
But it's pretty good, and it's more or less by demand now. It's a question of what can I use. So I'm a little bit more into kind of efficient dreaming or priority dreaming, because I could certainly get recall of up to about 10 a day or something.
I lost Craig. I will get him right back. This is the Dream Journal with KSQD Santa Cruz.
Hey,
sorry about that, Craig. Yeah, I pushed the wrong button. You're back now.
Okay, that's kind of dreamy. Maybe that's like my recall. I can turn it on and off with a button. So maybe perfect little synchronicity. But I can, by intention, and listeners might find that too. We do have to do a little bit of prep. I make sure to encourage people. It's not hard. It's not something you have to work at or try, because there's sort of a hidden belief that it's not easy and natural for us to connect with our dreams. But we do have to focus a little bit and maybe show up a little bit, have a dream journal or a voice recorder. And so whenever I do that, I usually get maybe up to about 5 a day. And then I just try to pick what are the big ones. What are the ones that feel like they have either a lot of emotional content or maybe something that feels like a link with practical guidance for that day. I call it my little morning action item list from my sleep.
Right.
And then I kind of just put those on the top too, because there's a lot of things that happen in a day, and I can't spend hour and a half every morning just writing, let alone starting to review or analyze. So I try to pick the top 1 or 2, and I usually do that every day. I notice a lot of strong connections with my life, guidance, diet, guidance, sometimes lucid dreams, which are just for fun, sometimes creative guidance, as I wrote about in my book, The Dreams Behind the Music there.
Yeah, so
I also dream music at least a few times a week myself.
Oh, that was my question. A few times a week you have dreams about music? That's
I know.
Wow.
Lucky me, because
Wow.
most of the artists in there, McCartney and some of these guys have dreams once every 4 or 5 years of music variety. So lucky me. I just have too much data. I have to start producing it more.
That's right. Well, later on we're going to play a couple of songs from Craig's, some of Craig's dream world that came through. So do you find that songs tend to come through like entire songs, or do you get like glimpses or topics?
Well, me personally, I get more like a feel. Usually that's the most important thing, the feeling. And then I also get the sound sort of scape, which is pretty close to the feeling, but it's sort of more audio. And then I certainly do get something more like a hook, usually, sort of a little 20-second-ish melody with sometimes lyrics that it's almost, I think of it like a seed or maybe a song hook, they say in the music business.
Right.
But I could develop it if I want. It's sort of like a link to a larger inner web page of some sort. And or a podcast maybe, and if I click the link, if I wake up and start working on it with the guitar or my keyboard or something like that, then the rest seems to flow as long as I started working fairly soon after, like that day or maybe a couple of days, but not like 2 years later. It's not quite as easily to do.
And keep it fresh. Yeah, it has to be fresh.
Well, it's fresh.
And while it's fresh. Well, dreams do fade away very quickly. It is true. And I think that has to do with the neurology of dreaming, that when we're dreaming, it's the very deepest visceral part of our brain that tends to be the most active, which is we're less tuned into when we're awake. So it's perhaps more of a miracle that we remember any dreams at all.
Well, interesting with the musical dreams, and this isn't just me, because I did a lot of research, about 4,000 hours, to be honest, for the book, research and writing. So a pretty big life work there. Mm-hmm. But not just me, that music memory, and even the neuroscience shows memory of music and little, let's say, I think it's called like a mind worm or a little brain worm, when the song gets in your brain and it hums itself in the background all day.
Yep.
The same thing seems to happen for dream melodies, that I can remember the melodies and maybe the little catchy hook line far beyond when I can usually remember the visual scenes of dreams, unless I look up my little write-up of the dream. Mm. So it's an interesting thing that probably a different portion of the brain, I'm not quite sure, but I did write about it, so I should probably look up all the research from my book there. Okay.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we're going to be right back with Craig Webb here on the Dream Journal on ksqd.org. And my name is Catherine Bell. I'm about to play a song right now, and I'm going to play one of Craig's dream-inspired songs. And so now is the perfect time to make your donation to KSQD. You know, a listener named Ron contacted me last week and said he was in a bit of a funk from all the crisis news. And he said that listening to the Dream Journal pulled him out of it. So thank you for your feedback, Ron. So please take a moment to go online to ksqd.org to make your pledge right now. KSQD is full of unique Santa Cruz programs, and we want to keep bringing you these comforting shows. If you can give, please help out right now by making a pledge for those who can't. Help keep us on the air. Any amount is welcome, from $500 to $5. We especially welcome recurring donations. Maybe you can give $20, $10, even $5 a month is wonderful. It all helps. So please go to ksqd.org right now.
When I looked for the answer to my problem, and I found the dreams I can solve them, I just couldn't believe no one told me this before.
Hello, this is Catherine Bell with the Dream Journal. You are listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, streaming live at ksqd.org and available locally at 90.7 FM. We are here with Craig Webb talking about his book, The Dreams Behind the Music. Welcome back, Craig.
Yeah, great. A little clip there. Reminds
Yes.
me of, those dreams that came with the melody for that song.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you have quite a musical talent. Did you do a lot of the guitar parts and other instruments on that?
Yeah, you're looking to the instrumentalist, producer, singer, and I guess engineer who put it all together there, and of course the dreamer who started with the spark.
Right, wonderful. So we report in your book that you did this huge amount of research on over 100 artists that were inspired by their dreams and to create music. I've heard of a couple situations, but of like John Lennon creating Feelings, and to Mick Jagger with Satisfaction. I know a couple of those stories. I wonder if there's a couple of stories that you'd like to share with us that people found dreams to inspire their musical creation.
Yeah, and just for the record there a little bit, the Satisfaction came in Keith Richards' dream.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
But Mick and him had a discussion because Richard wasn't really going to... He says, I don't know if it's any good. No, Mick said, no, develop it, you know.
Uh-huh.
So maybe a joint effort in that way. There's so many artists. Actually, people would be pretty surprised. I was when I started researching, because like you, I knew of a few, perhaps mainly because I worked in dreams and worked with clients and students with dreams. But when I started researching and some pretty deep research there, I mentioned many, over 1,000 hours of investigation and interviews and things. There's like hundreds. In fact, most major names that we know actually have dream-inspired hits. And sometimes their biggest hits or their biggest breakthroughs, example, Sting's biggest hit, Every Breath You Take, Grammy winner. So that came directly from a dream, as did some of his others. And he actually practices this, what he calls the shamanic art of songwriting, and says any artist who actually doesn't take account of their dreams is throwing away at least half their creative potential.
Wow.
That comes from somebody who's done their time, the Police and Sting. And then now we had Taylor Swift. She put a little, that I know of, she put a little dream as a sort of adjunct song line into the verse of one of her songs, I think on her, what was it, the recent album, the one before the latest album. But then she was also collaborating with Ed Sheeran on the new album, and he dreamt the whole music and lyrics for the verse that he included in one of her songs. So some more, I guess, current artists have pretty strong references to inspired by dreams. And I kind of think of it like maybe they're tapping the collective unconscious, sort of, let's say, the rock and roll or maybe the classical shamans of our time who actually tune into what the culture or their tribe, and in our case, the tribe is us listening on the radio or on the podcasts, and that they tune in for us and bring out what we could most benefit from. And sometimes the melody itself has a message that might not meet our intellectual understanding. But when we hear the song and it gets catchy and we like it, example, best song Grammy for Drops of Jupiter by Train. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't know that one.
Now that she's back in the atmosphere with drops of Jupiter in her hair. Maybe about a decade or 12 years ago, big hit. Best song Grammy. People can check it out. But that came inspired in the morning in a dream and touched so many people. I think inspired by his mom who had passed on. And he was wondering, was she still here? Was she in the atmosphere? Was she coming back to speak to him? And then he got this melody download. And he wasn't really known, and the group wasn't really known. But they went from, almost incognito to major group with this hit that came from a dream. So we assume, and my guess is that many people liked it, there was something behind the melody or the message or the feeling that could really spark a lot of people.
Right. Well, people who write songs, whether they use their dreams or not, and poets as well, often talk about channeling their gift, that there's something that's coming through them. And sometimes I'm like, oh, don't be so modest. But maybe there's also truth to that maybe part of their skill as artists is tapping into that collective wisdom.
Yeah, the creative channel, let's say, the high-speed connection to what's in our inner lives but hasn't quite come out yet. Actually, Richard Wagner was a classical composer, but he sort of wrote operettas and I guess musical, what we maybe nowadays call musicals. And he even described, because he was a big dreamer, a lot of his ideas and music came from dreams. He even described the exact process in his opera Master Singers, of how he kind of gave instructions for the lead character to learn how to dream their master song and sort of, I guess, attract the woman of his dreams, who was somebody he was interested in dating but hadn't quite noticed him yet. And he did so. He tapped in with his guide and then eventually, got together with his beautiful new partner because of a dream song.
Oh, that's interesting.
So poets also, for sure. And I know there's tons in Santa Cruz there, so get inspired. I say connect with the internet of your dreams and see what's... and you have to use a little bit of rational mind. You can't throw out judgment. Sometimes we think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, this thing we just saw or heard or read in a dream. But then when we get to waking, you can use a little bit of filter. If you get only one every 100 years or something, well, then maybe just produce it. But if you're lucky enough to get one every few weeks or a month, and by the way, like some studies I've done with my students, because I lead online teleclasses, they see, 6 out of 7 on the very first night they tried had a musical dream. And really never had anything before. So it's almost like it's there for the asking. And then the 7th person actually had it a week later. So she was just
wow.
too busy.
Well, I'm amazed. That's an amazing success rate.
That's even as a researcher, I was like, wow, 100% over a week. Shocking. So maybe like the soundtrack of a movie, we just have to somehow flip the inner dream speaker on, and it's there for the waiting if we are open to it. Right.
It's interesting. Dreams are often so visual, but there's also the part that we hear, with the conversation, and the music is just another kind of communication.
Yeah, and the soundscape also. One of the things I notice, sometimes it's this very interesting reverb, or there's just this high-pitched, or there's a very strong kind of like echo, let's say. There's one French artist who had what sounds like a very similar dream to one of mine, and I'll just tell mine. I was actually in Palo Alto, across the mountains there, and woke up going, wow, are they drilling like some kind of pneumatic drill or something outside? And I kind of looked out the window, still half awake, and I didn't see any workers or anything, so I thought, I wonder what that is. And then I slowly, as I woke up a little more, realized, oh my goodness, that's my partner who's snoring. Except that my ears, or maybe my inner ears, seem to have this very strange echo reverb all over them that makes it sound like this big mechanical device of some kind. And eventually, maybe a few minutes, it sort of faded out. But that we can get sound effects and sort of soundscapes too, not just music, so people can keep their mind open.
So it gets like translated into a dream sound, even though it's a waking life sound.
Well, yeah. I think people have probably noticed that. Sometimes the alarm or the telephone or maybe somebody talking in the other room gets incorporated into their dreams. In this case, I'd actually woken up, but it was still going through some kind of filter. And I think these developments, especially around something we haven't had in dreams before, like maybe music or new reverb or things, can be related to inner quickenings. Like we're starting to tune in a different way. We're starting to have a new skill develop on other levels that, loosely translate as a strange synchronicity in waking life, but it's probably pretty positive. Later, it could really help us, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I have found the dreams really point me in the ways that I'm ready to open, and so they really, like you said, your kind of daily to-do list shows up in your dreams sometimes. Yeah.
The action items from the night. I usually encourage people to ask because they say, oh, what does my dream mean? Which is fine. That's a good way. But it can just point to only intellectual understanding of the dream. Mm-hmm. So I say it's really good when we change questions, we get different answers from ourselves and also from the universe and from dreams. And if we ask, hey, what does my dreams, or what does my dream, if we have a specific one, what does it want?
Ooh, what does my dream want?
Not just what does it mean, because what does it want includes usually an action item where our dreams can come out to other people's lives and be a gift in that way, which that's what I think we all prefer.
Right. So it also highlights the forward-pointing nature of dreams, as they're not always about the past. I mean, yes, there is a lot of unraveling and rewriting of the past that happens in my dreams, but there's also a way that they point me forward into what's coming next.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the powerful, I think, ways that we could almost say that some of the musical dreams are callings from the future. For example, there's a whole chapter in my book about premonitions or precognitive dreams, and sometimes melody. Charlie Wilson, Grammy winner, I think, sort of for jazz music and a few things, actually Grammy nominated. His wife had a powerful dream when, and he did have some substance abuse problems and was very challenged for a while. And she had a dream that if you record and do this melody professionally, as sort of release it as a song, which he hadn't done so much of, then it could become a Grammy-nominated hit and really bring you back on your feet and get things going. And interesting how specific it wasn't you could win a Grammy. It was you could be Grammy-nominated, and that's what they did, and he recorded, and that's exactly what happened. He got nominated. So it can really point towards the future, and they call us. I think they're callings of some sort. Please bring me alive. Please bring this gift out to the world. I think Yoko Ono, one of our big dreamer, John Lennon's wife, said, "A dream that we dream alone is really just a dream, but a dream we dream together can become reality."
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you. This is Craig Webb. And I'm going to play another short piece of music a piece of music that Craig created from a dream. This is an instrumental piece, and I think you're going to enjoy it. This is the Dream Journal. I am Catherine Bell here at ksqd.org. I was saying that I gotten more feedback on my promo for this show than any other promo I've done. People saying, "Oh, I've had dreams about music," and one fellow was saying that he's a producer of soundtrack music, and he uses his dreams as resource constantly as part of his profession. So this is something that we all feel into, is the music in our dreams. In fact, I have some experience myself with music inspired by dreams. For me, it's mostly topical and sensation-wise, and that I have, maybe a dozen songs that are inspired by my dreams, and I find that not only the writing of them, but then the sharing, the singing of them is extremely powerful because it touches me back into the feeling in my heart that I had when I had the dream.
Right.
Yeah. So Craig, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you on the air. We have a caller on the line. I'm not sure. It looks like we're ready for, let's see. I push the right buttons here. My listeners know I have phone phobia. Here we go. So, welcome, caller. Please say your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is Christine. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, great. Not the Christine who's sitting in the studio with me. Christine from Las Vegas. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you. I'm so glad you called in. What do you have? And Craig's on the phone with us, too.
Oh, good. I have a question for Craig.
Perfect.
My question is, hello, Craig. I'm not musically savvy in any sort of way, but occasionally I get some sort of tune that comes to me as I'm waking up from sleep, probably from a dream. And I'm just wondering, how is the best way to sort of translate that from the dream world into waking world, because I don't really have any sort of musical training at all, so I don't really know how to approach that to record it.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I have heard of others who had that. So it does mean that it's coming to everybody, not just musicians, so I like that aspect. So it's pretty natural. And I would say, first off, you can just record it however you record it, usually a smartphone. or a little voice recorder. Ideally, if it's a smartphone with the cellular function turned off, so you're not blasting yourself with EMF all night. But so you get the raw data as clear as you can. And most of the major artists have a little recorder by their bed, and they use it quite intentionally for that reason, to kind of catch it fresh. And then once you have, I guess, as much as you remembered of the melody, maybe some lyrics, maybe a soundscape, or even the scene of the dream, because that might go into the lyrics, then I would encourage you, if you're not too musically inclined, to probably find a friend or a musician, maybe online, or somebody in your neighborhood, or ask some friends, hey, who might be interested in writing or producing a song? And you can kind of choose how much, if you want to just give it away as kind of a gift, or if you want to be a little bit more involved and have someone kind of help produce or write it or put it together, record it for you, depending how attached you are. But ideally, bring it out to the world a little bit. Example, the Tuvan shamans, and actually many of the shamans worldwide. I did a whole chapter in my book about them, the dreams behind the music. They'll actually dream little melodies for their, I guess, tribe members. They're different, in a way, clients. And really one of the things that they just do, they don't go into some advanced or lengthy psychotherapy session. They'll just say, here's a little melody, and kind of repeat it. Sing this all day today or for a few days, and it'll have its own alchemical effect. So in that case, if that's the case for you, you'll have to choose. But you don't even necessarily have to fully produce it. It might just have a little kind of message in the melody or the notes or the sound of it or something. And as you sing it and maybe give it to a couple of people you're going to meet that day, it could offer some kind of alchemical gift.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. Christine, do you have any... Has that happened to you where you've woken up with a tune or some words in your mind, kind of a rhythmic, poet kind of words?
Yeah, it tends to be sort of like a phrase, and then there's a few words, and I try and capture it as best I can in my written journal. But then, of course, the melody is lost then. So having the recorder there is a great idea. I don't tend to leave my electronics in the room when I'm sleeping.
That's a good idea.
I guess that would be a plug for that, yeah.
Well, I like Craig's suggestion of leaving them in your room, but with the cellular mode turned off, or maybe the Wi-Fi mode, whatever you have.
Airplane mode.
Airplane. Oh, there we go. That's easy. Airplane mode. So at least you're not getting any of the EMF from the download. You still have the actual device itself, but it's not trying to upload to the satellite all night long right next to your head.
Right. Right. I like it.
Yeah.
And even like old answering machines, if you still have one lying around, or if you want to call your own voicemail, if you have some kind of landline phone that doesn't have EMF. Some people like Jennifer Lopez, they just called their voicemail with a song to kind of catch it fresh. And then later you kind of listen to it, maybe remember a little bit more of it and write it down after you get up. But try to get it fresh there. So some kind of recording would be good, I think.
When it comes to the phones, sometimes I leave my phone in the bathroom by the sink because I'm going to get up in the middle of the night. I might remember something, and that's at least farther from my head as well.
Yeah.
I personally like the voice-to-text mode for recording dreams because it materializes in the text right before your eyes, but it's not good for tunes. If you want to tune, you need an actual recorder.
I think there's a little button on most phones now. You can just press it beside the text that you can record a sound bite. So it's got like a voice recorder built right into the texting or the sort of text to message. So you can check that too. And then you can get the melody too. Because the melody, I think, is important. It's got its own message, but not intellectual usually.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Right.
Thanks, Christine. That's awesome. I hope that offers some inspiration, and maybe one of your tunes will come out one day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, take
care,
care, Christine. Thank you.
All righty, bye.
Bye. There is something about music. I read something a long time ago, stuck in my head. I have no idea what we know about this, something that's so long in the past. How could we remember? But there is some argument, or some people have said that perhaps humans communicated by song before they had a language. Like, just think of the birds and animals, so that a lot of what they do is communicating through tunes and through songs. And I also know that there's something of a movie called Live Inside, where people who have severe dementia and they can't communicate verbally, they can still sing along with songs or even sing what they need, that there's something about music that connects to a part of our brain that we don't access throughout most of the day.
Absolutely. Great movie, by the way, Alive Inside.
Yes. I think it's on
Based
YouTube,
on,
so
I
maybe.
think, yeah. And Tubi TV, if you have like Roku and some of these. It's, I think, based on Oliver Sacks' work originally, but a lot of people have discovered the same thing, that music can really connect us with our feelings. And if we have dementia, connect us with our memories, even when we don't have access. So that's a pretty powerful tool. And also in the book, I describe some of the research that does show, this is lab statistical research, that the language part of the brain isn't actually, they're linked a little bit because of the ears, but they're not strongly linked with the speech and sort of, the language and speech isn't necessarily too linked with the musical portion. So somehow they're a bit different, and the feelings are often much more connected with the music portion. And often the important thing in our dreams, the message or what they want to bring us, is a feeling. So there's an important link there.
Right. Like that question of what does our dream want? Like often it might want us to feel a certain way or to notice a certain thing about our habits.
Yeah, we were too busy, or we got too stressed, or maybe we actually repressed some feelings the day before, and then they come in our dreams, and maybe they come through music. I think Richard Wagner, who I referenced before, said that music is the best language of feeling, almost a pretty pure dump of feelings if you can do it accurately. And many others have sort of said that. I think in the movie Live Inside, they sort of link with that too. Some of the doctors and I guess psychotherapists say there's actually a very, very strong link between the feelings and the music.
Yeah, that certainly
resonates. To access our body,
Yeah, no, I'm a big music fan. I really resonate with that. And one of the things I really miss during this whole situation is going out to live music, because partly to be with other people, but also just because the way it makes me feel to really immerse myself in music.
Yeah, I resonate with your with missing music. Even as musicians here, I think you've written some songs. We use the word resonate, and that sounds good and stuff. It's even in our language, right?
That's very, very true, yeah. So I was wondering if you maybe would like to share with our listeners some of your techniques that you would recommend to people can harvest their own dreams for significant breakthroughs. Like, is there some particular technique that you could recommend?
Sure. Well, first of all, just to realize that dreams do often bring practical stuff for our waking life. And I think folks who are probably listening to the journal have a bit of that sense. But in case they didn't, there's some valuable practical, like I call it TNT, today, not tomorrow, kind of action items. And they want to dynamite into our life, explode into actions. And with that in mind, then we sort of have a bit of an extra layer or perspective on dreams. I dream of oranges. Maybe it's kind of a longer story of a dream, but maybe just a simple action. I might have oranges that day, so that filter can help an awful lot. And just having that value and seeing a place that can pay off in our life, like diet, health, social, keeping our friends. Sometimes we avoid relationship blowouts. Sometimes, obviously spiritual awakening, creative insights we've been talking about most of the hour here. And other ways it can help us, that alone will actually help dreams come more. It's like valuing the friendship of our dreams. If we value it more, then we invite them over and we spend more time with that part of us.
Right.
By the way, probably the most important friendship out there, the one that's going to last all of our life and maybe all through our lives. When some of the other friends come and go. So our inner friendship with dreams and intuition and subconscious.
Right.
I would say very more specific things is get the recall door open, or what I call the inner net connection.
Right.
And to do that, people just keep the physical senses low when we wake up. Simple things like trying not to wake up to an alarm. We can set our body clock maybe 5-10 minutes before the alarm has to go off if we have an appointment or something. But if we set a body clock or just an intention before sleep, you'll see it's very surprising. Dear body, dear dreams, wake me up at 6:43, and you can check your alarm clock or whatever, and you'll see it's 6:43. And don't trust me, just try. So body intention can help us kind of keep the sound down. And then ideally don't move when we wake up. If we roll over and forgot what I just said, then try to roll back to the same position and not move our physical body. And then ideally, if possible, keep the eyes closed. So keeping all the physical input as low as possible. And then dreams come pretty naturally, easily. There's plenty of other techniques, but those are some kind of the main ones. And if we're interested in musical dreaming, I guess before sleep, you know how we sometimes, if we watch a horror movie, we have upsetting dreams during the night. So then before sleep, if we want to have a creative dream, maybe listen to some of the dream-inspired artists, especially. Many that we mentioned today, but there's more in the book there, Dreams Behind the Music. Or maybe your own music-inspired dreams like Catherine has here. And just before sleep, it almost acts as a suggestion. Hey, dreams, do you have some more creative insights for me? I have my guitar around, or I have my flute, or, you know, we kind of say, we're going to show up for this. We're inviting dreams in with some creative insight, and we show up for it the next day. It's not a great idea to really ask for stuff and then just blow it off or get too busy. So kind of a little bit of respect there.
Yeah, respect is good. And I would say that we need to show respect for the dreams that we do have. And instead of waking up and saying, oh, well, I only had that little dream, you know, whatever it was, that's a dream. Write it down and respect that, even if it's just like a tree. Like, go ahead, write that down. Or the color blue, you know, maybe it's a certain particular shade. That's a dream. And so you do really open the conversation with your dreams, this inner relationship that you're talking about, Craig, by really respecting what is already there, what you get, and that will grow as you open that door.
And sometimes those little vignettes, I think you mentioned like a single image or something like that, or a single little sound. Maybe we didn't have a visual dream, but we woke up with a little bit of a melody or even just a feeling, a body feeling.
Yep.
Those can actually be some of the biggest dreams that link us with many, many levels and layers the moment we tune in. To maybe make the image, find a similar image on the internet and just print it out or draw it if we're a bit of an artist. Or if you have the melody, just sing it to a few people, and you might be surprised how much comes when you actually tap it. It's like clicking on a link, like a whole bunch of other ideas or associations download. So I find the little vignettes actually hold more connections because they're sort of, there's less guiding material. It's just one little link that opens up like a portal, you know.
Well, as Jeremy Taylor was famous for saying in groups, is like, no, I don't think we have time for a short dream because that's
a great one. Exactly.
There's so much richness and there's so much possibility in the short dreams and in the so-called snippets. And I'm here to stand up for you know, love your snippets.
There you go. Yeah.
I
encourage people just like if we can, make it visual, or if we have a little audio thing, just leave it on repeat for maybe 5-10 minutes. If we had a little dream melody, like play it back on the voice recording. And it just has its own power when we see it on the fridge door or on our mirror, or when we listen to it for 10 minutes. It just kind of tunes in. It gets us resonating with whatever the dream wanted.
Absolutely. A little Post-it note on your computer.
Note.
Yeah.
Desktop, front of your, what do you call that? The wallpaper of your phone.
Yeah, the wallpaper of your phone. And it could just be an image of a turtle or something, and nobody needs to know it's your dream, but you look at it and you go, oh, yeah, I had that dream. Right. Yeah. And that's really hard.
Sounds like we're on the same page here.
Yeah, absolutely.
One dreamer to another.
I know. Well, there's something very powerful about dreams, and I'm just, that's the whole basis of the Dream Journal. This whole show is I want to inspire people to pay more attention to their dreams. It's a really rich inner resource, as you said. That one musician said that you're missing 50% of your creativity if you're not paying attention to your dreams, and so
at least 50%.
At least. Yeah. So, Craig, I understand that you have online program that's ongoing or maybe starting soon. I wonder if you'd like to talk a little bit about your offerings.
Well, thanks, Catherine. And also a very genuine and profound thanks for having this show here.
Oh, you're welcome.
It does allow folks like me to share some of my work, but I think also really helps listeners out there. And even if we're just kind of sharing our love and the content doesn't always resonate with everybody, that's got its value in these times when we're a bit separate. So appreciating, I think, what you said at the start of the show, just this sort of community vibe is I'm feeling it today. If people want to feel more of a community, and sort of connect with a group that has probably similar interests to folks listening to the show, they can check out one quick link that describes it more than I can here in like 30 seconds, is applieddreaming.com with 2 D's in the middle, so applieddreaming.com. And that talks about teleclasses that I offer online. And what I say, they're team journeys or team adventures that we all go on together with lots of synchronicity, dreaming for each other, lucid dreams, all kinds of stuff. And really, I'm as much of a journeyer as everybody else. I guide it a little bit because I've done that for like 30 years here. But I also learn plenty every time, and I really get into and excited by everybody's fresh story. And it's just, it's really more powerful in community, so kind of a small group. Usually I keep it under 20, but probably under 12 people for most of the groups, and it really works, that small format. So applieddreaming.com. And if people are musically inclined, or a lot of the Santa Cruz creatives want to tap their dreams from music, we shared some today, but there's many more artists. We can learn from all the artists who did it. In my book, Dreams Behind the Music, I tell their stories and then kind of highlight the principles, without bashing people over the head with all the techniques and everything. I just tell the stories of artists like, Paul McCartney or John Lennon or Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or Stevie Wonder, who had a powerful, powerful dream that changed the whole course of his career. And then just in the story itself, I think some of the techniques show, and then certainly the excitement or the motivation is there when we realize, wow, you can get like a Grammy-winning best song, or you could like heal a family relationship that's been ruined, or that kind of thing, or in some cases, you might actually save many lives with a dream, usually a little more extreme. Then it becomes valuable to just read people's stories and read their dreams. So that would be dreamsbehindthemusic.com if people want to check out the book, or go to amazon.com too.
And I will have both of those web pages on my podcast page for this show. So you can look for that on the KSQD website. And of course, any podcast app also has the Dream Journal, and links are available from the podcast apps as well. So
and
Craig,
you're going to put up a link to one of your songs?
Oh my goodness! That's very good. Okay.
Are any recorded?
I do not have any formal recordings.
Fully recorded.
But there's a few recordings around. I actually have 1 or 2 little home job productions that maybe I could. So I appreciate the challenge and the opportunity.
Maybe a musician clicks on it and says, hey, can I help arrange this or something?
Well, after all, I have a page of art on my experiential dreamwork page that shows the dream art, so I can maybe put some of my my music there as well. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Craig. I wonder if you have any last minute final thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, I'm just grateful to share some of the many blessings and insights life has shared with me. Kind of the fruits are ripe here, and I'm glad to give them away in the show here. So you have served me quite a bit, Catherine.
Great.
And also the teleclasses, I give those in the book in different forms. But I would just mention to people to realize, wow, any challenge, any tough thing, or even like a goal or vision that's a beautiful thing that we're not quite at, can be the answer, or maybe insight, or the next step towards the healing or the solution or the beautiful vision. Can come any moment with intuition, and then certainly even clearer at night with any dream. So let's stay awake and bring our inner gifts out, and then the greater mosaic of world peace becomes each little piece from us given to the community.
Beautiful. Thank you, Craig. All right. Well, Craig Webb, W-E-B-B, thank you again, and take care. We'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
All right. So tune in live or catch the podcast replay next week. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. I am Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org, Katherine. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to find out about upcoming shows and pod drops. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.